Tonight, why no Hawkeye Season 2, Sergeant Rock on hold, Star Wars Monopoly Go, Romulan Booze, and remember Ruth Buzzy and comic artist Jackson Butch Geiss. All then more on this edition of Multiverse Tonight. Welcome to Multiverse Tonight, your source for geek news. We dissect films, games, comics, and much more, bringing you insightful commentary on pop culture. This is Multiverse Tonight. Now, here's your host, Thomas Townley. Hello, and welcome to episode 239 of Multiverse Tonight. I'm, of course, your host, Thomas Townley. And, well, it's a quiet day for me. Yesterday, my mother-in-law came over and we did some yard work. I also put the weather station up and put out a new bird feeder that has a camera, so I can see what birds come and go. And did a little organization in the garage. I mean, I basically kept myself busy all day yesterday. So today I'm just kind of taking it easy, watching some Mystery Science Theater, having a little pizza, taking it pretty easy. Things have been going pretty well. We've actually gotten some measurable rain. We actually got the drought index back to dry, which is good. That's wetter would be better. If we got another couple inches, especially like a nice sustained rain or like a monsoon would be great. But beggars can't be choosers. So, with that, let's go on to the Marvel Comics news. And Marvel Comics news begins with Jeremy Renner in a candid interview on High Performance, shedding light on the reasons behind the absence of a second season for the Disney Plus series Hawkeye. According to Renner, the primary sticking point was the substantial pay cut proposed by Disney Plus for his return as the titular character, Clint Barton. He revealed that the streaming service offered him only half of his salary from the first season. Now, this offer was deemed unacceptable by Renner, especially considering what he anticipated would be an even greater workload spread across an extensive 8-month production schedule. Adding another layer to his disappointment, Renner also speculated whether the reduced compensation was connected to his near-fatal snowmobile accident back in 2023. Now, he openly wondered if Disney perceived him as only half the Jeremy following the traumatic incident and his subsequent recovery. Renner recounted the harrowing details of the accident where his massive 14,000 plus pound snowcat ran him over as he was attempting to assist his nephew. The resulting injuries were extensive and life-threatening, including multiple broken ribs, fractures to his knee and ankle, a broken leg, and a broken shoulder, underscoring the severity of the ordeal he endured. Now, Renner was careful to distinguish his frustration from any animosity towards Marvel Studios itself. He clarified that his issue lay with what he prescribed as penny pinchers and accountants within the larger Disney organization. He felt that their significantly reduced offer was not only unfair, but also insulting, leading to his firm refusal to reprise his role under those terms. Despite the contentious situation, Renner has made it clear that his affection for the character of Hawkeye still remains strong, and he is not ruling out potential return to the Hawkeye universe in the future. However, he emphasized that his return is contingent upon receiving fair compensation that is at least equal to what he earned for the first season. He admitted that he felt disheartened by the contract dispute and the perceived devaluation of his contribution. Nevertheless, he also offered a somewhat pragmatic perspective, acknowledging that his body is likely benefiting from the break and the absence of a demanding film schedule. The first season of Hawkeye, which debuted on Disney Plus in late 2021, was met with positive reviews and featured notable performances from Haley Stenfield as Kate Bishop and Florence Pugh reprising her role as Yelena Belova from Black Widow and now Thunderbolts*. The series quickly gained a dedicated fan base as the time of at the time of Renner's interview. Entertainment news outlet Variety reported that their request for an official comment from Marvel regarding the status of a second season and Renner's statements have gone unanswered, leaving the future of the Hawkeye series in question. Now, let's go on to the DC Comics news. And DC Comics news begins with production plans for DC's superhero film Sergeant Rock, helmed by Guadagnino and starring the Penguin's Colin Farrell, have been put on hold, according to Deadline.com. Originally slated to begin filming in the coming months, the movie is now expected to shoot next summer. Studio sources indicate that proceeding with a summer shoot proved impractical due to the need for a rushed prep period to align with the optimal weather conditions. The film is primarily set to be shot on location in the UK, and filming outdoor scenes during the winter months would have present challenges for the cast, crew, and equipment. The news comes as a surprise as Sergeant Rock received a $65 million budget and a planned August production start several months ago. Sources familiar with the project reported that Guadagnino was reportedly scouting locations and that the film was in advanced discussions with David Johnson of Alien Romulus and Mike Fast of Challengers to join Farrell. In this World War II set superhero action film, Farrell was cast as Sergeant Franklin John Rock, a character created by Robert Kayer and Joe Kubert, who first appeared as a World War II infantry soldier in DC's Our Army at War in 1959. The character gained prominence with his own comic book series, which ran from 1977 to 1988. Now, Sergeant Rock is envisioned as part of the DC universe being developed by studio heads James Gunn and Peter Safran, separate from the world of Farrell's The Penguin and overseen by the Batman's Matt Reeves. Farrell agreed to the lead role after Daniel Craig considered it briefly, potentially reuniting with Guadagnino following their collaboration on A24's Queer. The project was also set to reunite Guadagnino with Jason Kurtzakis, his screenwriter on Challengers and Queer. Guadagnino's next release is After the Hunt, a Me Too themed thriller for Amazon MGM Studios, starring Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, and Ayo Edebiri, scheduled for October 10th. The director has also been exploring a revamp of American Psycho for Lionsgate. With the delay of Sergeant Rock, it remains to be seen what project he'll commit to next. And let's go on to the Star Wars news.
Roger, Roger.
Star Wars news begins with the popular Monopoly game Monopoly Go being launched with a 2-month crossover event with Star Wars, encompassing stories from The Mandalorian and the Skywalker saga. This collaboration is spearheaded by Scopely and began this past Thursday. Victor Diaz-Roig, president of games at Scopely, said that the goal was to create a visually appealing and story-driven experience that blends the existence of both franchises. The event aims to feel original and true to the creativity of Monopoly Go, incorporating iconic Star Wars characters, eras, and themes. The in-game journey begins with Peg E, a robot from Monopoly Go, imagining a reimagined Monopoly world in Mr. Monopoly's theater. Players will be able to explore famous Outer Rim planets like Tatooine and gather themed tokens and shields. Monopoly Go has previously featured crossovers with Marvel characters such as Spider-Man, Wolverine, Deadpool, and the Avengers. Additionally, a global brand campaign in November includes celebrities like Will Ferrell, Jason Momoa, Keke Palmer, and Chris Pratt. Since its release in April of 2023, Monopoly Go has achieved significant success, becoming the highest-grossing mobile game launch in history after recently exceeding $5 billion in revenue. Yeah, and that kind of blows my mind. That means there's people who are basically paying to win. You know, don't pay to win a mobile game, folks. Just it's not worth it. You know, you might as well just go up to the front yard and set the money on fire. Anyway, Star Wars Ahsoka Season 2 filming is now underway as Star Wars Rosario Dawson shared a behind-the-scenes image from the set. Taking to Instagram, Dawson posted a photo to commemorate the star of production. The image is of Dawson's shadow against the ground as the actress makes her way to set. As evidenced by the distinct silhouette, Dawson has been outfitted in her Ahsoka makeup. Fans can see the outlines of the character's trademark Laku. Dawson's caption indicates the day of her post was shared on Monday, April 28th, was the day the cameras began rolling. Quote, "And we're off to galaxies far, far away," her caption read. Star Wars fans might have been under the impression that Ahsoka Season 2 was already filming. In late March, Ezra Bridger actor Iman Esfandi shared a social media post from his friends celebrating the launch of Esfandi's podcast and Ahsoka Season 2, leading some to believe the show was in production. During Star Wars Celebration Japan earlier this month, Ahsoka showrunner Dave Filoni revealed that the second season would begin filming in the near future. Now, Ahsoka Season 2 does not have a release date as of this writing. However, it was one of the projects Lucasfilm promoted during Celebration Japan. A panel dedicated to Ahsoka, it was confirmed that Hayden Christensen would be returning as Anakin Skywalker in Season 2. Convention attendees also got a look at Rory McCann as Balin Skoll. McCann replaces the late Ray Stevenson in the role. Now, let's go on to the Star Trek news. And Star Trek news begins with, well, time to raise your glass, folks. Star Trek Spirits, the official spirits brand of the Star Trek franchise, has collaborated with Stellum Spirits, made by Barrel Craft Spirits, to launch two limited edition whiskeys, Romulan Stellum Rye Whiskey and Romulan Stellum Cask Strength Whiskey. Romulan Stellum Rye Whiskey is a blended rye whiskey crafted in Kentucky and bottled at 118.02 proof or 59.01% ABV. It's described as having aromas of dark brown sugar and toasted almonds. The palate is rich and buttery with notes of star anise, sesame, and almonds, complemented by vibrant notes of dill, apricot, orange peel, and brown sugar, leading to a lingering finish. Romulan Stellum Cask Strength Whiskey is crafted in Kentucky and bottled at 120.67 proof or 60.34% ABV. It's described as having aromas of flowery vanilla, orange peel, caramel corn, and mixed peppercorns, followed by cedar and smoldering oak. The palate exhibits notes of charred orange, leather, and floral vanilla layered with cardamom, cedar, and spice nuts, finishing with a touch of sweet cinnamon. Now, Romulan Stellum Rye Whiskey and Romulan Stellum Cask Strength Whiskey are housed in Star Trek's Romulan Ale bottle and are available now at StarTrekSpirits.com for $79.99 per bottle. So, you know, would you want to take that, or would you just want to make your own, blue whiskey? You know, it's green. George Takei will receive the National Equal Justice Award at the Legal Defense Fund dinner, recognizing his advocacy for the AAPI and LGBTQ plus communities and his long-standing support of LDF and civil rights. The All Rise themed event will be hosted by actor and director Tony Goldwyn and will feature appearances by Andrea Day, Raina Roberts, and leaders from various sectors will gather to honor those dedicated to racial justice and equality. Goldwyn expressed pride in hosting the event, highlighting LDF's historical role in advocating for civil rights and the dinner's significance in recognizing civil rights heroes. LDF President and Director Counsel Janai Nelson emphasized the power of law, leadership, art, and activism in advancing racial justice. The All Rise theme is a call to action to shape and safeguard democracy. The event also marks LDF's 85th anniversary and aims to inspire broad community support for change. They conveyed their honor in joining LDF to recognize 85 years of work for racial justice, noting music's role in truth, healing, and transformation, and her pride in standing with LDF. The Mellon Foundation will be acknowledged for their commitment to social justice. Author and historian Blair Imani will serve as the social media and red carpet correspondent. And a special tribute, Spirit of Selma, will commemorate the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday and the Voting Rights Act, recognizing key figures and moments. The honorary co-chair committee includes prominent figures from entertainment and law and sports. Founded in 1940 by Thurgood Marshall, LDF has been a crucial force in the fight for racial justice, laying the groundwork for modern civil rights. LDF recognizes the need for support from leaders in various fields and recognizes the need for various support from leaders in various fields to shape public discourse and inspire lasting change. Inspired by its founder, LDF remains committed to achieving racial justice, equality, and a more inclusive society, drawing on its history of progress to address current challenges to democracy. Now let's go on to the geek news. And we go with geek news, starting with a new 4K Ultra HD restoration of the Rocky Horror Picture Show has been struck and will be released in theaters across the U.S. to mark the film's 50th anniversary. The cult classic has been restored over 10 months by the Walt Disney Studios restoration team. The company has said that the restoration includes a meticulous digital scan and preservation process that ensures every frame of the film is presented with unprecedented clarity and vibrance. The restoration also features a newly mixed Dolby Atmos audio track. Ken Schaefer, the Disney director of restoration and library management, said, "It's a privilege to help preserve the legacy of a film that has meant so much to so many." Bringing the Rocky Horror Picture Show to life in 4K allows us to honor its bold, genre defying spirit and ensure that audiences, both longtime fans and first time viewers, can experience it as it was originally intended with stunning picture and sound. Unquote. That's, you know, I've always enjoyed the Rocky Horror Picture Show, being an MST3K fan, that's the kind of precursor to that. So, if this comes to a theater near me, I might go see it. But please, please, you know, before if you're going to go see it, because there will be audience participation no matter, do me a favor, uh, get get it on DVD or Blu-ray, and listen to the audience participation tracks a few times so you have the patter down. What's being said or what people say at certain moments. That way, you'll have a much better time. Or if you just want to, just watch people, just sit in the back, watch people do their thing. Anyway, Joseph Kosinski is headed to Miami. The filmmaker behind the $1.49 billion hit Top Gun Maverick is attached to direct a Miami Vice movie for Universal, according to sources to The Hollywood Reporter. Nightcrawler filmmaker Dan Gilroy is penning the script from an earlier draft by Top Gun Maverick scribe Eric Warren Singer, who had to move on to commitments on Amazon MGM Studios' Best of Enemies, starring Kristen Bale and Bradley Cooper. The Batman producer Dylan Clark is producing through Dylan Clark Productions, and Kaczynski is producing through Monolith. Miami Vice began life as the Anthony Yerkovich created TV series starring Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas as two undercover Miami police officers known for their love of pastel suits. Executive producer Michael Mann told The Hollywood Reporter last year of the series, quote, "The ambition of the show was to break the form of everything that had come before," unquote. Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell starred in a 2006 feature of the same name that Mann directed and also earned $163.7 million globally. Now, Kaczynski has been kicking the tires on this project since last year, working with longtime collaborator Singer to develop the project and pitch it to a studio. Though Miami Vice will not be the next project he directs, with his busy schedule including a UFO conspiracy thriller that Apple won in a bidding war in March, he next has the Brad Pitt racing drama F1 due out in June. Sycamore Studios, an animation studio focused on creating high-quality kids and family content with enduring stories, has appointed seasoned producer Jeremy Lacham known for The Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, as an executive producer for their upcoming animated film, Zeta, the Space Girl, through his Latcham Pictures. This project marks Latcham's first venture into animation, building on his extensive experience producing major live-action films for Marvel Studios. And, Andrew Pace of Latcham Pictures will also serve as a producer. Zeta the Space Girl is adapted from Ben Haddock's popular New York Times best-selling trilogy. The story centers on a spirited girl whose cosmic journey begins with the alien abduction of her best friend. Driven by powerful determination to return home with a willingness to make courageous sacrifices for others, Zeta evolves into an intergalactic hero. The children's graphic novel by Macmillan has received over 20 accolades, including the American Library Association's Noble Children's Book, a Sybil Award, and a Book of the Year honor from Kirkus and the School Library Journal. Zeta the Space Girl was initially announced in December of 2024 by McGuinn and CCO Timothy Rickert, who joined the studio scoring select films based on established intellectual property, which also includes Dr. Dolittle from Bob Berlin and Cal Brunker. Latcham's other producing credits include Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, and Bad Times at the El Royale. Hotly anticipated video game Grand Theft Auto 6 will now come out on May 26, 2026, a delay from its previous planned release at the end of 2025. Publisher Rockstar Games, a division of Take-Two Interactive, explained in a statement to customers that the longer timeline will allow for a better final project. Quote, "We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you've come to expect from you and deserve," the company said. "We are very sorry that this is later than you expected. We want to thank you for your support and patience as we work to finish the game." Now, the franchise, which is set in the fictional Florida metropolis of Vice City, launched in 2002. The last installment came out in 2013, and according to industry estimates, Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold more than 210 million copies, making it one of the best-selling games of all time. And finally, some sad news. Ruth Buzzy, who shot to nationwide fame as one of the stars of the 1960s TV comedy variety series Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, died May 1st from complications from Alzheimer's disease at her home near Mingus, Texas. She was 88 years old. Her death was announced on her Facebook page by family. Buzzy had suffered a debilitating stroke back in 2022 and had been in hospice care for several years. After appearing on early 60s TV shows such as The Gary Moore Show and CBS's The Entertainers, Buzzy was cast in her one and only Broadway show in 1966 as part of the original cast along with Gwen Verdon of the now classic musical Sweet Charity. In 1967, Buzzy guest starred on the hit TV show The Monkees and was cast in a recurring role as Pete in another hit show, That Girl, starring Marlo Thomas. But her major breakthrough came with Laugh-In. Buzzy was the only original cast member to appear in every episode of the 1967 to 1973 series, in a show that launched the careers of Goldie Hawn, Lily Tomlin, Joanne Worley, and Judy Carn, among others. Buzzy was an immediate standout for her character, Gladys Ormsby, a prudish spinster type with a hairnet that she knotted in front of her forehead and clad in drab sweaters and dresses. Buzzy's glass would appear in sketches with Ari Johnson's Tyrone F. Horney, a classic dirty old man who would mumble apparently obscene come-ons while sharing a park bench with Gladys. Her response was always to whack him with her purse. Buzzy's other laughing characters, including Flicker Farkle, the youngest child on the show's Farkle family, and Doris Swizzler, a cocktail lounge regular who always over-imbibed. As one of the Burbank alien stewardesses, Buzzy pioneered the nasty flight attendant role well before Saturday Night Live's David Spade. After Laugh-In, Buzzy was a regular on many of the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts and guested on numerous variety shows and late-night talk shows. In 1993, she joined the cast of Sesame Street as shopkeeper Ruthie, a character that also made appearances of subsequent Sesame Street specials. Quote, "Ruth Buzzy brought a singular energy and charm to sketch comedy that made her a standout on Laugh-In and the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts. Her characters, especially the unforgettable Gladys, captured the delightful absurdity of the era. Remember her with admiration and appreciation for the joy and laughter she brought to generations of fans," said National Comedy Center Executive Director Journey Gunderson. Buzzy was also a busy voice actor with animated credits including Pound Puppies, Berenstain Bears, The Smurfs, and many others. She was also a popular nightclub performer, as she was a frequent guest at major casinos in Las Vegas before retiring in 2021. She was also active on Twitter up to the last month, offering pearls of comic wisdom like this one from Mart. Like Buzzy is survived by her husband Ken Perkins, with complete information of any other survivors was not available. Again, Ruth Buzzy was 88 years old. And finally tonight, comic artist Jackson Butch Geiss died at the age of 63. Geiss worked for Marvel and DC Comics over his decade-spanning career. Geiss came to prominence on the X-Men book X Factor, where he was the co-creator of Apocalypse, one of the greatest X-Men villains ever, and The Flash, where he helped kick off Wally West's tenure as the titular Flash. Geiss also drew action comics in the early 90s, drawing chapters of the blockbuster The Death of Superman, World Without Superman, Funeral for a Friend, Reign of the Supermen, and Return of Superman. Geiss's death was announced by his brother-in-law on Facebook, who has this to say about Geiss's life, quote, "People all over respect his talent and his ability to turn pencil strokes into living, breathing. I swear they're going to walk right off the page and punch in the throat works of real art. But more than that, they knew that they were going to get an honest answer from Butch, not some canned, milky, watered-down version of what they needed to hear. The real deal. He earned the respect of his peers because they knew that they could trust him and his work. Artwork, once laid down on paper or canvas, or whatever medium he was working with at the time, is solid, and the proof is that the end result, a man's word, whatever you can put stock into what he says and know he stands behind it, like so many other things today, is iffy at best." Unquote. Now, Geist began his career with fanzine work, and his first published artwork came from 1982's The Crusaders, although he has done ghost work with Pat Broderick in ROM Annual Number 1. Marvel editor Al Milgrom noticed his work on fanzines and his work on ROM, and decided to give him some work, with Geist getting a tryout on Micronauts issue number 48. He ended up drawing up the next 10 issues of the book, all the while contributing to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, and became known for his Butch Geist portfolio series of pinups. He'd work on books like X-Men and the Micronauts, Dazzler, and the Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom adaptation. X Factor was his big break, drawing issues number 1 through 3 and 5 through 7. He did some work with writer Mike Barron, and then got tapped for The Flash, giving Wally West a perfect beginning as The Flash. Geiss's time on Action Comics during the most popular era of Superman comics since the Silver Age showed exactly what he could do on comics' first superhero. Geiss's issues of Action were great, his detailed line work and style really gelling with the book, and he was responsible for the Eradicator issues of Action Comics during Reign of the Supermen, and was able to do a fantastic job with this darker version of the Man of Steel. Geiss's work on Superman brought him to the masses, who jumped on the book because of the death of Superman, with an entire new generation of comic fans getting to see what all the fuss was about with his work. Geiss's best work for a lot of fans was Resurrection Man, written by the team of Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. Resurrection Man followed Mitch Shelley, a man who resurrected after he died with a different superpower each time. Resurrection Man ran through 1997 to 1999 for 28 issues, numbers 1 through 27 and 1 million, and Geiss's work really gave the book its own visual identity. Geiss was the kind of artist. His work seemed simple, but his style was one of a kind. Geiss worked with some of the best modern writers in the history of the modern comic book medium: Mark Waid, Brian Michael Bendis, Chris Claremont, Warren Ellis, Abnett and Lanning, and many more. While his output slowed down in the tens and 20s, he's a true legend that will be dearly missed. Now, again, comic artist Jackson Butch Geiss, dead at the age of 63. And now that brings us to the end of the show for today. Now, please be sure to check us out on social media. We're on Blue Sky and Twitter Blue Sky at Multiverse Tom, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram as well at Multiverse Tonight. And if you've gotten some value of the show and would like to pay it back, head on over to Multiverse Tonight, where you'll find our Patreon and Ko-fi links. Check out our show notes, visit our TeePublic store, and so much more. You'll leave some feedback as well. Now, if this is your first time listening, thank you very much and welcome. Now go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share us with others. Now, thanks to Hot Dope for the intro music and Lobo Loco for the outro theme music. Thanks for watching this edition of Multiverse Tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more sci-fi and comic book news. Now, please exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half Baked Genre Productions. Copyright 2024. All rights. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved. This podcast is brought to you by the Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network.